This is the lounge room. Fortunately, water's been getting in. Up on the roof, they've got a bit of mould.
Tony Konyarsky lives in his own home. He inherited it from his father, but it needs major repairs which he can't afford.
Unfortunately, I got no water coming in at all. It's been like that for a couple of years. Same as the shower up behind as well. For me to have a shower, I usually go down where I swim locally and use the facilities there.
The 57-year-old lives with rheumatoid arthritis, is partially blind and has chronic back problems. To get by, he works 15 hours a week as a casual relief cleaner and receives some welfare support, but it's not enough to cover his medical expenses.
When my GP refers me to him, sometimes I have to defer it because I just don't have the money to see these specialists.
Tony is one of millions of people living under the poverty line. In Australia, one of the most famous ways to measure poverty was created by Professor Ronald Henderson in the 1960s.
I think we can really attribute a number of the income support payments that came about in the 70s and beyond really had their origins in the measurement of poverty that Henderson pioneered.
For decades afterwards, it gave politicians something to focus on.
By 1990, no Australian child will be living in poverty.
But more than 30 years on, 760,000 children and 2.5 million adults are still living in financial hardship, according to the relative poverty line. This second method is used by countries with similar economies to Australia. It says anybody trying to survive on less than 50% of the median income each week is living in poverty, and it finds fewer people are struggling when compared to the Henderson line. But no matter what measurement you use, there are millions of people in financial distress, and inflation is making it worse.
What we'd really like to see is an official measure of poverty in Australia, which we've never had because governments tend to walk away from the issue, and it should be front and centre in the government's wellbeing budget when they announce those measures next week.
However you measure it, experts say there are easy ways to get people out of poverty.
By lifting the lowest payments and increasing rent assistance, the government could substantially reduce poverty very quickly.
Anti-poverty campaigners say there's an urgent need to boost those payments to at least the Henderson baseline.
The government needs to work with unemployed advocates to develop a new measure of poverty, to really understand what it costs to live in Australia in the 21st century, and to make sure that no one is having to skip food.
Oh, this is not working either. I've got to get that replaced, but I've got to...
During the pandemic, Tony received the coronavirus supplement.
It made a huge difference. It was really, really good. So I was able to repair things, pay some outstanding bills.
But now that supplement's gone, spending money on his home and health is a struggle.